My name is Kanesalingam. I come from Kuala Lumpur, Malaysia. I'm practicing as an advocate and solicitor there for more than 40 years. I've been involved in humanitarian relief work for Tamils in Sri Lanka for more than 30 years. I've come here as a representative of the Tamils Relief Fund. I have a question for Mr. Rajesh Sundaresan and Dr. Krishnasamy, who are both from India. But my question will benefit Mr. Mave Senadaraja and Mr. Gajendra Ponnambalam. Question relates to two gaps. There is a conspicuous gap in the UN expert panel's report. This expert panel report was published on 31st of March 2011 at the request of Mr. Ban Ki-moon, the Secretary General. They said 5 generals attacked the Ulam Tamils, or the Ulam Tamil nation, or the terrorists, as they put it, as the Sri Lankan government put it. But who controlled the 5 generals? There's a conspicuous absence. They don't say who controlled it. They say Gotabaya Rajapaksa, Minister of Defense in several stages, but they don't say who was the commander of the 5 generals. That's a conspicuous gap in that report. The other conspicuous gap is the gap in the draft resolution that I read on the internet that the US government is proposing to bring. They say that they want an investigation or an inquiry into extrajudicial killings. Now, extrajudicial killings is not the same as mass killings. It's not the same thing. The most important grievance of the Tamils in Ulam is that there were mass killings. In fact, according to reports, the UN panel says 40,000 were killed in the last days of the war. But other reports indicate that some 150,000 Tamils were deliberately targeted and killed. That's the other conspicuous gap in the US resolution. Why have they left out the mass killings? It's the most important problem. There's also I would like to give some provocation to the two panelists. The foreign media, the foreign voluntary organizations were also prevented from entering in September 2008. Before that, they had some degree of access. But in September 2008, they were denied. Now, September 2008 is conspicuous date. That's a fall of Kilinochchi. Kilinochchi fell, but the leader of the rebels did not fall. They marched towards Mullaitivu. Now, why is that significant? Now, there are lots of refugees who come to Malaysia from Sri Lanka. According to the government, I spoke to the deputy minister in the government some 2 weeks back. He estimates that there are 100,000 refugees from Sri Lanka, mostly Tamils. But the UNHCR has given cards only to about 5,000. One of those is an asylum seeker who came to see me on the 19th of December. That's 2 months ago. He told me that he was there till the last days. And I asked him how he escaped. He said he slipped into the jungles and disappeared. But he was hunted. He was hunted by the Sri Lankan army, and owing to the Bush administration's classification of all people who carry arms as terrorists, he was hunted by all the governments of the world. And he went to Indonesia and then he came into Malaysia, he told me. He told me that he was the head of the intelligence unit in the LTTE. And he also told me that there was a Singh who was commanding the 5 generals, not Mr. Saras Fonseca. And that Singh is in a very high position now in the Indian government. Now my question is this: is there a sufficient check and balance in India, in the Indian constitutional mechanism? Because the government is such that the president is the commander-in-chief of the army. Is there sufficient check and balance on that president? Is he answerable to anybody? And India has no independent president now. Previously they had. The last independent president was Abdul Kalam. After that, the ruling party fixes the... So is there an element of insanity that prevailed? Because this head of the intelligence also saw me, he saw many bodies of North Indian soldiers. So I asked him, how come the Indian public does not know about it? He says they were all orphans.
Could we shorten it?
Yes, last sentence. So when I saw looked through this, I saw that there's a regiment of orphans in India which was established in December last year. Now there could have been an unofficial regiment of orphans earlier. So there was serious Indian involvement, not collaboration as the UN report says, but actually it was participation. So our indignation should be addressed to the Indian government and not to the Sri Lankan government.
Hello. Could the comments be brief, if you don't mind, both of you? Okay.
Sir, you have put up some few questions. Okay. That is your question. Is
one question. Is there sufficient check and balance in the Indian government over the Indian army?
Sir, it is totally, as you said, it is not the president's control. It is only the Prime Minister control. The President cannot act in Indian Constitution according to his will, like that of America or other. He has to act according to the advice of the Council of Ministers. That is the constitutional law. So he has no independent role. He is mere rubber stamper. He has to know President can act independently. That is the law in India. The next question, the conspicuous gap. What I doubt is, the UN itself has done grave mistake. They have not intervened appropriately in appropriate time. Otherwise, definitely, the mass massacre should not have happened. This 40,000 people who have been killed in the Mulai, that is Mullivaikkal, that should not have happened. There is some collaboration, not UN have with Sri Lanka. That is my doubts. We have to blame entire accusation against UN. We cannot simply blame only Sri Lankan government. Without the knowledge, without the approval, without the help, Sri Lankan military cannot have done all sorts of these human rights violations in the span of 2 years. How is it possible? When they are able to intervene in Syria, able to throw the governments. In Egypt, they are able to throw the government. In Libya, able to throw the government. Why they have not intervened immediately and are effectively in Sri Lanka? So that there is a doubt about the UN's action itself.
Rajesh, could you intervene?
Whatever supplies were given or whatever intervention was there was on a defensive side, not the offensive hardware that was given. But like I said before, unless there's an independent international investigation against all the players, all the allegations that have been brought on the table, unless those are investigated in a fair international process, things will never come out. And that's why it's very important to have that. And whoever is responsible for perpetrating the crimes, regardless of who they are, should be punished as per international laws. I think that would be the fair thing to say here.
Next question, Thiru.